everyone, my name is Ksenia. Today I want to talk about this very big book. It is a contemporary Russian novel. It's called The Grey House by Mariam Petrosyan, and the Russian title is Котором. It's a huge book. It has over 900 pages, and even though it is divided in 3 parts, and you can kind of take breaks between these 3 parts, it was published originally as one book. So I intended to read it as one book as well. But yeah, it took me 2 months. So there is a lot to say about this book, and the first thing I want to make clear is that it doesn't plot. I forgot the plot. So first of all, plot, or what the story is about. It is set in the house, which is kind of like an orphanage for the disabled children, and basically this is it. And the house is kind of sentient, so it kind of plays its own role in the story. And the thing is that this is it. There is not much plot apart from that. And the very first thing I want to mention about this book is that it is essentially plotless. It doesn't have any traditional structure, it doesn't have traditional character arcs or plot or some resolution. There is nothing of that sort in this book. And that makes it a very strange book because it's so big and it's plotless. So you can imagine that it's not an ordinary book. But despite all that, the book, it was published in 2009, and it developed cult status in Russia, and not just in Russia, but I guess in Russian-speaking countries. And I feel like the main reason why this happened is because the atmosphere of the story and the characters is extremely vivid, and also because the book is so huge, you spent so much time in the house with the characters, and you kind of get used to them, you love them so much, at least that's what happened to me. There is a smaller amount of really prominent characters who are very beloved by people and also by me, and they are, after reading this book, they feel so incredibly real. And I feel like emotionally connected to them, even though I've never met them. And even though I have my issues with the book, and I cannot say I love this book as much as so many people out there, I still feel very connected to the characters. And yeah, this is the great thing. I love feeling like that about books. And also the house, because the story takes place in the house, it's never set anywhere else. It has this a little bit claustrophobic feeling because there is always the hallways, there are the rooms, there's like a hospital wing, and nothing else. It's all in the house. But also some characters, this is like magical realism part of the story, some characters can kind of go to the other side of the house, so to say, which is like a city or a town, I don't know, some place. And they can also go to the forest, which is like this big thing, the forest within the house. And yes, even though some characters go out, so to say, they are still within the house. So the house is still a huge part of this other world. And yeah, and I feel like this is the reason why it's like a cult book nowadays, because it inspires so much. It can inspire so many stories, and it's very easy to transport yourself into this house after reading the book, after spending so much time within it. So this is all great and I love it. But my issue with the book, not exactly that it is plotless, because I don't mind plotless novels. I think they have their own merit to them. But the thing with this book is that essentially it doesn't have any beginning or ending, and also it doesn't have any resolution, which is fine. And I think it would have been fine for a smaller novel, for like 250 pages, for example. But for such a long novel, to me it felt like some some of the dialogues between the characters felt very, very redundant and repetitive and just going nowhere, because they were going nowhere. Nothing came out of those discussions, or even if something came out, it was a tiny, tiny portion of what could have happened. So yeah, I guess I'm more in the potential of this book because I was absolutely certain I would love it, because I love novels like that. It sounds like 100% something I would enjoy, and the fact that it got no resolution and no progression, no character arcs, to me was a big, big drawback. And another thing is that I grew to really love these characters and really care for them, and I was expecting some kind of big boom at the end, because there were hints to that, but nothing happened. And the worst thing to me is that the characters kind of disappeared, and I didn't have time to say goodbye to them, and then we have like a few years later and we have no idea what happened to them. So this was very infuriating to me, because the beginning of the story and the ending of the story was told from the perspective of a character who isn't a main character, who doesn't get the magic of the house, and he was so annoying and he was so unnecessary as a main character. And in the end, he didn't have time to say goodbye to any of the main characters whom I loved. So I didn't have time to say goodbye to them, and this was so infuriating to me. So yeah, I have mixed feelings, as you can see. And another thing is that you can see it's a huge book, and there are a lot of mystery and like things that aren't said clearly. So there are some mysteries, and kind of you as a reader, if you are being careful, you get some clues and you understand things, and you expect it to be revealed, because I feel like this is how it always happens in books, but it's never revealed. You just have to understand that, okay, I got that thing, but maybe if some other reader wasn't paying attention, they could have missed it, and they would have lost a huge part of the book. So that leads me to my other criticism of the book, is that there are so many clues that you can only get those clues if you read it for the second time, for the third time, and I don't think that's how books are supposed to be, and that's just my opinion. I'm sure there are so many people who love this book, who read, reread again and again and again, and so they notice like a small one line on page 500, and then they say, okay, so this line meant that this is going to happen, now I see it. That's not how I love to read books. I love to notice these details and kind of try to predict what's going to happen, and here it was like 100% impossible, especially because it's such a huge book. You wouldn't pay so much attention to tiny details as you would in a smaller book or in a novella. So yeah, the ending was like, what just happened? And then I went online and I read discussions, and then I was like, aha, so that meant this is happening, and that meant that is happening. And it's not just me. I would admit if it was just me, but it wasn't just me, it was everybody else. Even those people who loved the book, they had to like read discussions, and they had to read like official answers from the author, who, she's very nice to answer all the questions, but I also feel like the book doesn't need to get help from the author in order to be understood. I don't know, that's how I feel. So yeah, I feel really sad for not enjoying this book as much as I could have, just because I didn't get what I hoped to get from the book. So yes, if it sounds like something you enjoy, I would definitely recommend it. I also wanted to mention that the author is Georgian, but she wrote it in Russian, and I think it was first published in Russia by a Russian publisher. Yes, and another thing I wanted to mention is that the Russian title, Dom в Котором, you can translate it as the house where, and then dot dot dot. So the title is unfinished, and I feel like it's a big and major hint that the book is unfinished as well. And it's not like there is a part 2, there is none of that. It's like a finished story, but at the same time it is unfinished. I cannot say more because of spoilers, but yeah, here it is. So if you are not afraid, go and read it. And yeah, this is it for me for today. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.